Anybody here doubt that 2 plus 2 equals 4? Maybe. Anybody here doubt that the world's round and we spin around the sun? You know anybody who believes that, or the doubts that at this point? Do you doubt that when you're happy, you might not be happy? Do you doubt that when you're happy, that you're happy? Do you doubt your own emotions? Do you doubt that when you're sad, you're sad? And when your heart is full of love for another person, do you doubt that? Do you feel that? You know, when you tell me you're angry, who am I to suggest that you doubt that? And who am I to doubt that you are angry if you say you are angry? It's your personal, subjective experience, and what choice do I have, if I'm being polite and kind, but to accept that without question? Now we can get into a whole discussion about what caused the anger, right? Whether or not that was a legitimate reason to get angry. That can get into messy territory, right? We can get into arguments about that. But the anger itself, that's just there. It's just reality. It's beyond doubt. So here in our progressive Christian church, and other progressive churches around the world, we make room for doubt. Yeah? If you doubt the virgin birth, if you doubt Jesus physically, literally walked on water, if you doubt the existence of God, if you doubt about religious doctrines and dogmas, you're welcome here. It's not a requirement to be here or even join a church if you're still harboring these kinds of doubts. On the contrary, we welcome that. We welcome you with your doubts when you come in the door. We welcome your doubts even as you're here for years and years. You're welcome here. You can join with doubt. In fact, anybody here want to join? Talking after church. There might be time. So when you walked in the door of the church and were accepted as you are and as you were, your doubts were accepted as is too. This seems to be the next step for progressive Christians, is to take anything in our faith tradition that is as undoubtable as 2 plus 2 equals 4, take anything that doesn't meet up to that standard, and place it in a bin, any doctrine, dogma, belief, idea, put it in a bin, and then get a dynamo label maker, and make a little dynamo label that says recycle, and put it onto the bin, and then put it in there. And if you don't know what a dynamo label maker is, that's my point, actually. That, dynamo labels are redundant and old school, and we don't use them anymore. And that's why it should be on the recycle barrel, because they're redundant. Now, notice that I suggested that these doctrines and beliefs that are not as obvious and undoubtable as 2 plus 2 equals 4. Notice that I said they should be put in the recycle container rather than the trash recycle. Right? The dynamo label may want for that too. But no, I'm suggesting that we put these dogmas, doctrines, traditional ideas in Christianity that don't work for all of us anymore, work for some of us, but don't work for us all. But we put them in the recycle container, and then recycle them. Yeah? Use them again, reuse them. There's a marvelous store in Portland, Oregon. There's this huge old kind of warehouse space that's full of junk. And artists go in there to buy stuff. And it's weird stuff. It's stuff that was like discarded by industrial processes. They didn't know what to do with it. All sorts of stuff, obsolete stuff, items, barrels full of it, right? And I just love this place. You go in there off 23rd and Portland, and it's just like a wonderland of possibilities. And one of my favorite barrels had a sign over it with this really weird-looking plastic objects in it, all the same, hundreds, maybe thousands of them. And the sign says, "What are you going to do with these?" It's sort of like challenge accepted. You do something with this, surely, surely I can. It's great. The store inspires you to recycle these materials into some kind of artistry and useful things too. And we were challenged to do the same with all of the wonderful stuff from Christianity's past, its stories, its concepts, its doctrines, etc. And it turns out that this is not a new idea. This is not just a modern, progressive Christian type of view. Not at all. People started recycling the Christian tradition from day one. In fact, before day one, right? Because when you think about it, Christianity is basically a recycled version of Judaism. It's taking the material of Judaism and mixing it up and mashing it up to make something new and wonderful, and that's how we got Christianity in the first place. So it's no wonder that the mystics and the contemplatives of Christianity got busy with the same approach very early on. Here's an example. 14th century German mystic, Meister Eckhart. And this is what he does with the doctrine of the Trinity. Is there anybody here who really gets really excited and has strong feelings of attachment to the doctrine of the Trinity? Anyone? It's like, yeah, the Trinity, yay, cool, it's the best. Anyway, no. Yeah, it's just, it's not something that gets us that excited anymore. Excuse me here, my notes today are on my computer and on my phone because the printer doesn't work. Anyway, so I have to read itty little words on my phone. Anyway, here it is. Here's what he did. Here is Meister Eckhart playing with the doctrine of the Trinity from the 14th century. Do you want to know what goes on in the core of the Trinity? I will tell you. In the core of the Trinity, the Father laughs and gives birth to the Son. The Son laughs back at the Father and gives birth to the Spirit. The whole Trinity laughs and gives birth to us. I don't know, does that make you feel a little different about the Trinity? Kind of fun, huh? It's got to be the most creative, the most out-of-the-box interpretation of the Trinity ever in the history of the Church. Wonderful. The core of the Trinity, the core of the Godhead, the divinity, at the core of it is laughter. Laughter within that spills out beyond. And it's the laughter I would suggest that we associate with babies. Notice that we do not need to say anything snarky to get a baby to laugh. You don't have to tell them jokes. You don't have to do something. You don't even have to do something funny. You just look at them and smile, and they laugh at you. They laugh with you. Pure joy, laughter, pure, unadulterated, uncomplicated joy. That's the laughter going on in the Godhead. That's what's at the heart of the And it also resonates with my own contemplative spiritual experience for me. Because I find myself in contemplative prayer, meditative prayer, doing what we do here, observing my inner life, noticing my thoughts, emotions, sensations, and realizing that the way I'm attending to them is with unconditional, divine kind of love. And when I do that, I get to a point where I start laughing to myself. It's like, whoa, all this stuff I took so seriously. You know, we got so wound up with, so attached to, so worked up with. But when I look at all of that with the eyes of God, with the eyes of love and acceptance and non-judgment, then it just makes you laugh. You just go, ah! You know, how do I get so worked up with this? So Meister Eckhart's interpretation of the Trinity is an example of that. This is recycling the Christian religion for the purpose of giving us ways of talking about and expressing our actual spiritual experience. Now, another example I'll give you comes from, this is really, literally wild. Okay? Example of how the mystics interpreted the scripture. Just reading it this past week. That Gabrielus Pontius, he was a 4th century monk and mystic, and he went out to the desert, he hang out with the desert fathers and mothers, the earliest monastics of the church, and recorded his personal experiences, kind of a spiritual psychology, really, from the 4th century, remarkable. That rings true so much to the experience that anyone who practices Christian meditation and contemplation. So he wrote this passage in which he says, anger stands more in need of remedies than lust. And for that reason, the love that is to be reckoned, the love of charity. In the 4th century, Christians were taking stuff in Scripture, taking them out of the recycle bin and doing creative cool stuff. And we get to do the same thing. Right? We are allowed to do the same thing. Because anything we got in our tradition can be put into that recycle container of the back of the life and then put to new and good use. Maybe a better or more understandable use of the English later. But there it is. Now, there's no sense in doubting the existence of love. You know, I've had many conversations with atheists over the years. I don't believe in God. My question is always, well, okay, what version of God do you believe in? And then they'll tell me, supernatural God, guys, God, blah, blah, blah. And I go, well, I don't believe in God either. And they go, well, what kind of Christian are you? Well, I've been pretty good company. There's a lot of stuff there that don't see God that way. We see God as love. God is love. And I go, and if God is love, what's not to believe about God? Right? Because I think most of us have experienced love, and there's no sense not believing that it exists. Because we know it, we experience it, we're sure. Now, of course, there are times when we have instances in which we start to doubt the veracity of a certain kind of love. You know, we think love us, and then we find out they really don't, or they really didn't. They were going through the motions and not being real about it. We've all experienced that. Vice versa, right? There are some people we treat like we love them, do we really? Are we really honoring them, paying attention to them, and going deep with them? Maybe we're just faking it. So there's that. But that doesn't mean that love itself is not real. It's something real. So the fact that we sometimes have our doubts about love in a particular instance, or love even within ourselves, whether it's real or not, whether we're really practicing or not, that's why we come here, right, to church. Because the church, as I've said before, is a fitness center for love. You know, you go to the gym to work out your muscles, you come here to work out your love muscles, to practice real love, and to do it with other people. Some of whom you find challenging to love, even in our wonderful work. Not even that, because we're humans, we're like regular folks go through this. So that's what the church is about. That's what the monastic life in the desert was about. You know, like the Baker said, we practice asceticism, the simplest possible kind of life, so that we can reach a state of equanimity. We're not perturbed by things, positive or negative. And then out of equanimity grows agape love, divine love. And out of that grows charity toward other people. The fruits of that love. So that's what we're here to work on. That's what we're here to do, emulating our workouts here for the fitness cycle for love. Just do that. And we don't have to live in a stone hut in the desert to do it. But maybe we do need to come have a little bit of sensory deprivation for a few minutes in church and keep silent and kind of flip the switch, turn off all the cares and the travails and the urges and the temptations of the world so that we can enter into the state of equanimity from there into love. I put this up today just to remind us that today is the equinox, right? Let us celebrate the equinox, the evenness, the equanimity of night and day, the equanimity of the transition from summer to fall. Pay attention to the signs of the times, the signs of the heavens, remind us to seek out that equinox within. And we can do that by recycling the stuff in our religion that's doubtful, so that we can embrace that which is beyond that. And ultimately, that is the divine